So yeah, so this guy, the plain bagel, I've probably not watched him on this stream before, but he's definitely a pretty base chat if you want to learn how to manage your finances. And if you're looking for stock recommendations or the right time to buy the dip, that's not happening, bro. Let's do this. Let's figure out what he's got to say about. And I know this is a month old, but it's kind of been a while since I've actually, been able to. I actually haven't watched a lot of his stuff lately, just because I've been all in on socialism and shit, and he's kind of as capitalist as it gets. But he does know how to manage finances. Show discussion. We'll just go ahead and put that there, even though nobody freaking talks in there. Yeah, here we go.
This video is sponsored by Morning Brew. Click the link in the description below to sign up for their daily business newsletter today. Hey everyone, so you're watching The Plain Bagel. Breaking news regarding the Canada-US trade war this past week, as we saw President Trump announce that the tariffs he promised to slap on Canada, China, and on day 1 of August finally became effect February past Saturday, with him declaring that there was nothing these countries could do to stop the tariffs from taking place. Quick update, turns out Saturday was just the executive order. Trump has now announced that Tuesday is definitely the date that these tariffs will be coming into effect, with 25% tariffs being slapped across most goods from Canada and Mexico. What's that? This just in. Never mind. Turns out Trump and...
Yep, that's our president in a nutshell. He is such a goddamn pussy. He will go all hard on the existence of trans people and throw trans women in men's prisons to become sex slaves. But God forbid he stays a little bit on the consistent side with fucking God forbid he stays fucking consistent. How dare he wanna. And it's so ridiculous. This presidency is so ridiculous.
Trudeau had a phone call and everything's Gucci now. So I guess we're good. That's more or less how this past week has gone for Canada trade relations, with many bracing for an all-out trade war between the two close allies, with Trump announcing the 25% tariff on most Canadian goods and 10% tariffs on Canadian energy.
So let's go ahead and read through this. So Canada and Mexico slapped with 25% duties. China gets 10% above current tariffs. Trump wants action on stanching flow of fentanyl and migrants to the U.S., because of course the migrants. Canadian oil, more on that later. Canadian oil would be taxed at 10%, more oil and gas. So if you voted for Trump because, gas prices are too high and egg prices, more oil and gas tariffs expected in mid-February. So, that's Trump. Trump is doing that. Canada, Mexico vow retaliatory tariffs. China says it will take Trump to the World Trade Organization. Canada strikes back with 25% tariffs on $155 billion of U.S. goods. Or, to make that number a little bit bigger, 0.155 trillion. Yeah, about 15.5% of $1 trillion of U.S. goods. Yeah, that is suddenly not so. Yeah, it looks like Canada knows how to strike back.
And Canada retaliating with 25% tariffs on a number of American goods that would escalate after a short period of time, only for things to simmer on the announcement from Justin Trudeau of collaborations between the two countries to address fentanyl and illegal border crossings, with Trump postponing the implementation of these tariffs by 30 days, which has led many to wonder, was that all really necessary? After all, Canada and the US have long had one of the deepest alliances and friendships globally, which made these tariffs quite controversial, especially given the reasons provided for slapping these tariffs and how they line up with different data points. But as mentioned, we're not yet out of the woods. The tariffs have been delayed, but it remains unclear what steps are required for...
Of course, as we all know, Trump is going to engage in the tariffs. He's a little bitch boy, He wants people to bow down and suck his dick, but, God forbid he ever, God forbid he ever provides a little bit of flavoring down there, if you know what I'm saying. He wants you to suck his raw dick, but he doesn't want to make it taste good. He wants it to taste like bodily funk and smegma.
Tariffs to come off the table here, which has led many to speculate what might actually happen if these tariffs do end up going into place, how devastating they would be for the Canadian economy, and whether the U.S. would see a net positive or negative impact from this protectionist measure. And with the topic being so hotly debated, I figured I'd chime in to discuss what happened today, why the tariffs have been so controversial, specifically the ones targeted at Canada, and what we could expect to see happen in both countries. And while many are pushing pretty simplified narratives, and at times very bold claims around how tariffs will ultimately impact the U.S., there are a lot of moving parts when we talk about international trade, so we'll try to cover things in a nuanced manner. Now, to be transparent from the get-go, as a Canadian myself, whose largest viewer demographic is actually from the United States, I recognize that, sadly, we find ourselves, for my viewers anyway, on either other side of the trade frontier. And I'm going to have a little bit of bias here. I'm a Canuck myself, and dare I say, I wasn't a fan of all this. Trump.
Hey, plain bagel. I wanna make a little deal with you. So I'm actually French Canadian. I was actually born in the United States. And I'm becoming more and more embarrassed of my American ancestry. Because of all the things going on with the current Trump administration. But how about this? Let's bond over a game of hockey while having some really good fried waffles with that delicious, tasty maple syrup. Let's do that. We can do that. I would love to bond over some of that good old Canadian maple syrup and a game of hockey over how much this is just... It's shit. This whole situation is shit. And I promise you, I did not vote for this. I did not fucking vote for this. So yeah, let's continue.
That all being said, I'll try to focus on the data points here, provide sources for the information I share, and try to avoid getting too political here. That's obviously pretty difficult to do given the circumstance, but the goal here is to have a constructive conversation.
So that's the thing about economics. And so the thing about economics is it is inherently political. You cannot have politics without economics, and you cannot have economics without politics. So the mere fact that you're talking about economics means you're talking about politics. So that is kind of, the thing is you're more into the economic aspect of politics, which is a completely legitimate, worldview to have. We can have that discussion every day, but moot point, but no, economics is politics. So go on. Oh.
So that's what I'll start to do. So let's start with a quick overview. What exactly went down with the tariffs here? Well, shortly after winning the election in November, we saw President Trump threaten Canada, Mexico, and China with tariffs in the latter half of November on all products entering the country on day one of office. A tariff, of course, is an extra tax that's charged on imports into a country. In the United States, they're paid by the importer, meaning that if you're a U.S. citizen and you import some maple syrup from Canada for $20, you'll find that with a 25% tariff, you're charged an extra $5 for that $20 of syrup. With the idea being that this will incentivize consumers to buy products domestically rather than purchasing products from foreign countries. As for why Trump decided to target Canada, Mexico, and China here with tariffs, according to his own social media posts, drugs and immigrants, with him writing on Truth Social that, quote, "This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop the invasion of our country." Is that really what they call retweets? Now, since then, Trump has had other complaints about trade between Canada and the United States.
Yeah, that's about right. They're literally called retweets.
More recently, Trump implementing, mostly incorrectly, that U.S. banks are not allowed to operate in Canada. But most of the time, the complaints have been pretty nondescript, with Trump calling trade between the two countries unfair and lambasting what he calls a $200 billion subsidy that the U.S. gives Canada, with him suggesting the tariffs will go away if Canada addresses fentanyl and immigration into the United States, reduces its trade surplus against the U.S., or becomes the 51st state.
Well, I'd like to see Canada become our 51st state.
Which, to be clear, that's very much still viewed as a joke in Canada, even if that's maybe been forgotten here. Unless you've grown up taking care of toast hippos or having nightmares about this guy, quite frankly, respecting Canada's sovereignty is for America's own good. Now, Trump did ultimately delay the tariffs after a phone call.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, Trump is kind of a madman. Like, he does not view, he views America as one of the most superior nations on earth. And it is just completely disgusting. You see, one of the things that I can't stand about this fucking country is for the last 200 and... Are we at 50 years? 1776? 1776? 200 years would be 1976. And then 50 years. Yeah, so as of next year, on the 4th of July... Fuck. 250 years and I'm alive for that. One thing I hate about this fucking country is for the last... almost 250 goddamn years, we have told the world that we were like this amazing star on this a castle on the hill, or the land of all the nation of all nations. We're like, no one could possibly ever compare to us. We are just like American supremacy, good old American values. Meanwhile, Hitler loves our Bellamy salute and takes it to to talk about and uses it to have his masses salute himself, and then Americans bitch out like little pussies and say, "Oh, that's not our salute anymore. Now you just put your hand on the flag." But we're still brainwashing children into the magic of America and how great this country is. But the only thing I respect about the current administration is they're ripping the charade right off. For the last 250 years, and nobody fucking knew this, our quote-unquote checks and balances operated under the assumption that the people going into that office would operate in good faith. That is obviously not how that works. I mean, that is obviously how that works, because we're seeing it now thanks to the fact that Trump is literally defying all checks and balances, and he's pulling this thing of, go ahead, Supreme Court, enforce your little decisions, enforce your court orders. I'll wait with my military of hundreds of billions of dollars. I'll wait with my green camouflage clowns. You ain't gonna enforce shit, Supreme Court. I own you. I'm the president. I am the real deal. I am the king. Unitary executive theory all the way, bitch.
With both the Mexican president and the Canadian prime minister, with Mexico promising to send 10,000 troops to the border with the U.S., and Canada itself making a number.
Oh, about that, I think they want to actually, starting in April, they want to, at some point in April, they want to visit whether or not they want to declare martial fucking law. Let me see if I can find that, actually. Trump wants to declare martial law. So this was published on the 5th of March, 2025. A joint Department of Defense and Homeland Security report will soon recommend whether or not to invoke the Insurrection Act over illegal immigration. Jesus Christ. The clock is ticking down on a crucial but little noticed part of President Donald Trump's first round of executive orders, the one tasking the secretaries of the Department of Defense and Department of Homeland Security to submit a joint report within 90 days recommending whether to invoke the Insurrection Act. Many of us are now holding our collective breath knowing that the report and what it contains could put us on the slippery slope towards unchecked presidential power under a man with an affinity for iron-fisted dictators. I don't know about you, but I'm not comfortable with that. I am not fucking comfortable with that, knowing that there is a madman. Like under Bernie Sanders, I would be okay with martial law being declared on the bourgeoisie class. Like, no, we're just gonna, like, you're in a war against the American people. You're trying to take away their health care and all these things, so we'll do martial. I would feel much safer in martial law under, like, a Bernie Sanders presidency than I ever would under Trump. And it's not because Democrat and Republican, ew, get the fuck out of here with that shit. Everybody knows the Democrats are on the side of Republicans these days. It is literally because of the fact that it's class. Bernie Sanders is all about the workers. Granted, he pussied out in the 2016 election. I'm not going to let that go. How he literally just, like, conceded to Hillary when he could have fucking won. He could have won that. He had the support. And he conceded to Hillary. I'm not going to forget that. But I would rather someone who cares about the little guy, who actually cares about the little guy and isn't just using the little guy as a facade like Trump is. I would actually prefer he, declare martial law against us dirty Americans, because at least we know that the military is going to, like, go into, like, your local Walmart and pull the money out of the safes and just, like, send it to the soup kitchens and give it to every homeless person there. I mean, I guess I'm exaggerating that part a little bit, but fucking martial law, come on. Like, this is what we voted for. Jesus Christ.
Promises, including putting $1.3 billion towards strengthening the border, hiring a fentanyl czar, listing cartels as terrorists, and launching a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering, with Canada also putting $200 million towards an intelligence directive on organized crime and fentanyl. However, the announcement around the delay has led to the raising of a few eyebrows because the biggest part of this promise of $1.3 billion for strengthening the border is not news. It was announced back in December, shortly after Trump initially threatened tariffs, with even the joint strike force being announced at that time, which gave some the perception that not a whole lot actually changed to cause a trade war. And of course, anything to address the stopping the flow of fentanyl is generally speaking a good thing. But the fact that these tariffs would ultimately cost economies hundreds of billions of dollars that Trump purported would be a net benefit for the U.S. and could even reduce income taxes. The fact that this was all seemingly put off by such a minor, mostly predetermined commitment has raised questions over what the real intentions with all this are, and has really tarnished the trust and long-term trade relationship between the two countries. Which also leads us into why the tariffs against Canada have been so controversial here, outside the whole annexing a free country thing. Firstly, as has been highlighted many times here, despite being slapped with a similar tariff,
Yeah, so
Canada makes up a tiny fraction.
Which country was that? Was that Canada?
Tariffs against Canada have been so controversial here, with all this are, and has really tarnished the trust and long-term trade relationship between the two countries. Which also leads us into why the tariffs against Canada have been so controversial here, outside the whole annexing a free country.
Oh, yeah, and making Canada the 51st state. Oh, and also renaming, trying to rename fucking Greenland to red, white, and blue land. Are you fucking kidding me? Get the hell out of here, Trump. You're a goddamn clown. How do you actually run this country? Why? You're supposed to be in fucking prison. You, like... And you're, like... Isn't treason against the government sentenced something punishable by death? You should be in the gallows, dude. You like make guillotines great again, to quote one of my boys on like, yeah, no, you should be in prison, dude. Like, the fuck, you should not be in that goddamn White House.
Firstly, as has been highlighted many times here, despite being slapped with a similar tariff to Mexico here, Canada makes up a tiny fraction of drugs and illegal migrants that enter the United States. According to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection's own data, the U.S. northern border accounts for less than 199,000, or roughly 6.9% of total migrant encounters, and just 43 pounds, or 0.2% of the 21.9 thousand pounds of fentanyl that's been seized being smuggled into the country. Which, yes, in both cases is not nothing, but considering Canada and the U.S. have the largest shared land border in the world, it's not bad and clearly not a key contributor to either of the issues. Secondly, there are a number of issues with that $200 billion subsidy claim. For one, Trump seems to be referring to the trade deficit here.
It's not fair that we should have a $200 billion or $250 billion deficit.
Which is not a subsidy. It just means that the U.S. buys more products from Canada than Canada buys from the U.S., which is a sign of prosperity within the U.S. As people become wealthier in the country, it's expected that they would buy more products from abroad. Secondly, the number doesn't seem to be accurate. According to the U.S.'s own Census Bureau, the U.S. trade deficit with Canada for 2024 was $63 billion. So unless it's counting 4 years worth, that $200 billion really overstates how big the deficit is. Thirdly, the only reason the U.S. has a trade deficit with Canada is because of cheap oil that the country sells to the U.S. effectively at a discount, with the country having one of the lowest price oil benchmarks globally, even when put up against comparable benchmarks for the type of heavy oil that comes from.
Like how the hell are we gonna literally be? How the hell is Canada literally going to be accused of some kind of trade deficit when, like, they literally provide us the cheapest oil? And it's like now Ontario is adding like a, wasn't there something about a tariff? Like, well, yeah, obviously on U.S. energy imports from Ontario tariffs. So, see, this is based right here, because I'm pretty sure a lot of the electricity they supply goes towards the more, like, especially in New York. After you leave Buffalo, you get into, like, let me see if I can pull up a map of New York. But then again, I also don't know where they provide oil. But let's see. Here we are. So Lake Ontario, that's right here. And I think Ontario, Canada, is right here, with Toronto being somewhere in this general area. It would make sense that they would probably be providing. Let me see. Let me see if I can. It'll probably be better to do that. So here we go. Yeah, so Ontario, so Toronto's right here. Ontario is this whole province right here. Let's see. Oh, Montreal, Quebec, Labrador. Yep, that's Quebec. But I would imagine, like, right in this area is probably where a lot of the New York energy from Ontario is coming from. And in this general area, there's a lot of rural land there. A lot of Trumpanzees. So I think it's based. I really think they should do it. Let's read about it real quick. So, oh, you didn't even see, because I'm like not being attentive to you. I'm sorry, stream. I'm sorry. But anyway, so this is as I was saying, Toronto's right here, right? So this is Toronto, Quebec, Montreal, so this is Ontario, sorry, with Toronto down here. Right here, there's a lot of rural area, especially up in here, where I imagine there's a lot of energy. Because remember, Ontario goes from here, so there's a lot of it, I think, being provided to Michigan. I think it'll say something more about it later in this article. In fact, let's see. For more than a century, the U.S. and Canada have sold each other electricity through power lines that crisscross the border, an arrangement that has historically hummed along thanks to the warm relationship between the two countries. That changed this week. On Monday, Ontario Premier Doug Ford announced the province was imposing a 25% surcharge on electricity exported to 3 U.S. states: Michigan, Minnesota, and my home state, baby. Which is really mean, because we went towards Kamala. We didn't want this shit. We didn't want this. Why would you hurt us? It was Minnesota and Michigan that went to Trump. Be nice to us, Ontario. We didn't want this. But anyway, the move was in response to President Trump's tariffs on Canada. Trump, a day later, said he would double U.S. tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel to 50%. Why would our country allow another country to supply us with electricity, even for a small area? Trump asked in a separate post on his social media site. Ultimately, both sides backed down from their threats and agreed to meet to discuss trade issues, but the whirlwind episode highlighted the U.S. reliance on imported Canadian power and the fact that some states obtain electricity from their northern neighbor. Get out of here. Here's what to know about Canada, the U.S., and the electricity that zips across the border. The U.S. and Canada share a power grid. This is true. What power grid? What power comes? What New York State power comes from Ontario? I hope it's not my power. According to the New York Independent System Operator, as it interties with Ontario's Independent Electricity System Operator, allow for up to let's see. Does National Grid get electricity from Canada? Apparently. So Canada's electric will reverberate. So Canadian government figures show that in 2020, Canada provided the U.S. with 93% of its electricity imports. Okay. National Grid completes major upgrade of Canada. Because I'm trying to figure out, unlike those other states known from National Grid, I don't know. Recently completed a major upgrade. I hate National Grid. Why the fuck am I on this website? 450 kilovolt high voltage direct current, or HVDC, transmission system that has been delivering clean carbon-free electricity from Canada to New England for the past 25 years. And this was back in 2016. National Grid replaced blah blah blah, which isolates any defective lines, equipment, and blah, blah, blah. New equipment also was installed that will enable it to quickly locate problems on the system's transmission lines, especially in remote areas and challenging terrain, and restore service. This Canada-US HVDC system has... Oh, this is going to directly impact me. Fuck. But it's okay. I'm already financially fucked. So, it's whatever. When it was placed in service in 1990, the Canada-New England HVDC system was the first of its kind. Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. In addition to having major operations in the U.S., National Grid owns and operates the electricity transmission system in England and Wales. That system is linked to France and the Netherlands by HVDC interconnectors. The company jointly developed, owns, and operates. National Grid is also developing proposals for a number of additional HVDC projects that would interconnect with other European countries. So, in other words, yes, National Grid is powered by Canada. National Grid, my energy provider, is supplied by Canada. Yep. Thanks, Trump. Thanks, Trump. So, yeah, we're all fucked. But I ain't going down swinging, because look at these motherfuckers over here. Let me see if I can. God damn fucking fucker. Get over there! So, if we're getting impacted, then right about in... No, let me... You won't be able to see that. I need a new... So, in a lot of this area here, I imagine National Grid probably supplies to here. I mean, I'm over in this general area. I'm in this side of New York, baby. So if they're all the way over here, and they get their supply from here, then that means all of this rural Trump-tarded dumb fucks over here that voted for this bastard, they're also going down. So I may be going down, but I'm going down with MAGA fucking flesh between my fingernails, motherfucker. I am so proud of this shit. I will gladly pay my National Grid bill next month. Fuck. I call this being a Canadian patriot. Which, by the way, I had a position in Bank of Montreal, and I was given a dividend, and I paid foreign tax to Canada, and I'm very proud of paying my taxes. I'm very proud of paying tax to Canada. Anyway.
And if you strip out this cheap oil, the U.S. actually flips into a trade surplus of roughly $45 billion. Yet Trump was planning to slap a lower tariff on this commodity. Fourthly, Canada's trade balance with the United States is actually one of the smaller among its...
Oh, Canada, my home and sacred land. Da 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 da. Ah! Ah! Oh my God! Warn me next time. Don't put Trump's face in my face while I'm trying to hum the Canadian national anthem. How fucking dare you? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's like a Klan member burning a cross on... Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
That he himself said out back in 2019 that he forced Canada and Mexico to adopt after kicking off a similar trade war to replace the long-standing NAFTA agreement, with him at the time calling the current trade agreement that he's now lambasting, quote, the best and most important trade deal ever made by the USA.
Who the hell made these deals?
Now, the US trade
You did it again! Knock it off! Listen, I haven't watched your stuff in a while, and I don't remember your name, so I can't call you out by name, but stop it! Give us a trigger warning. This guy's literally a monster. This guy's a monster. You can't put this guy on my screen without giving us a trigger warning first.
Again, under the USMCA agreement, and there are arguments as to why a country might want to limit how much its trade deficit expands. It can lead to a weakened currency, as the buying of imports leads to demand for other currencies and less for your domestic currency, which can weaken your dollar, and it can lead to job losses as industries move to other countries where perhaps a given product or service can be provided more effectively or efficiently. But the US doesn't really have an issue on either of those fronts. The US dollar has had a tremendous couple of years, and the job market in America has proven incredibly resilient, with unemployment in the US, while slightly higher than it was a year ago, still sitting at just 4.1%. Now, it's also worth highlighting here that Canada does have a number of its own protectionist measures that have also kind of come up in the debate here, such as dairy, where Canada actually imposes supply management controls of domestic production and imposes quotas on U.S. products beyond which tariffs are charged, and telecommunications, where Canada restricts foreign ownership. With limitations put in place there, aim to protect the domestic industries from being flooded by its southern neighbor, which has massive economies of scale and will likely overtake any sort of competition. Albeit for banking, Trump's claim of restrictions is mostly incorrect. There are currently U.S.-based bank subsidiaries in Canada. Here's a picture.
Oh, wait.
Of a Citigroup.
Oh, yeah, Citigroup, yeah. An international corporation. So, wait.
Toronto. It just hasn't been an overly attractive market to expand into since Canada intensely regulates its banking sector and requires U.S. institutions to set up separate subsidiaries to accept retail deposits in the country, meaning they...
Yeah, that sounds about right. Let's see. Citadel, isn't Citadel American? Citibank is... Citco.
Can't access the parent's company's bank reserves, which is inefficient for them. But even domestically, the protectionist measures around dairy and telecom specifically have been hotly debated over the years, given how these measures, get this, impact Canadian prices. So while it's quite common for smaller countries to try and protect their critical industries with these type of measures, that could be an area...
So I think the basic thing that we need to conclude from all this is that Trump is a dipshit. Trump is an inhuman animal and doesn't deserve the same rights as the rest of us. He deserves to be in prison. We all know this. Trump is, one might say, a cretin, a golem. I don't know what you want to call him, but he's definitely not no fucking human. Maybe a chimpanzee? I mean, can we call him that? Like, is it okay to call Trump a chimpanzee? Or is that racist against white people? Anyway, I can't fucking do this. So, yeah. if you enjoyed this stream, feel free to, or if you enjoyed this segment, please feel free to drop a like and support the show on, you know, just send me, well, you don't have to send a tip, but, you know, go to my Twitch, which you can see. Let me go ahead and wait. I don't need to do that. You see my crap on screen. Anyway, check out my Blue Sky, check out my YouTube, check out my Twitch, and do whatever you want with my Patreon. I really don't care. And with that said, I'll see you on the next segment. Thank you for watching. You are so nice to me.